One thing that's been coming up in the field lately during these inspections is the behavior, or the strange behavior of insurance adjusters, field adjusters, the lower end level guys. Not the managers that are pulling their strings, but the guys that are actually on the roofs or in the houses taking a look at the fire. Interestingly enough, we've seen a trend over the past few years that is getting worse and worse. Claims departments are shrinking. They're firing experienced guys, letting go of experienced guys who are making, upwards towards 80,000 and six figures per year, and they're hiring these inexperienced guys to come and take their place for some reason, or just getting rid of these positions altogether. Case in point, a adjuster I met yesterday. We're on the top of this building that has the roof damaged by storm damage, hail, wind-driven debris, God knows what else, leaking inside the building, a busted skylight. An independent insurance adjuster had already come out and met with me. He had determined that hail had damaged the property. The insurance company opened coverage. This guy goes back, he tells me that there's hail damage to the metal around the building and the inside and things like that. We get the estimate back, and the estimate's short. It's not covering the entire roof. So we send in our proof of loss. We send in our claim packet, basically proving the damage to the entire property, all of the measurements needed, all the photographs, probably about 300 photographs, I would say, showing that the damage is in fact there. The insurance company then wants to send out an adjuster that works for them, a captive adjuster or a company adjuster, to do a readjustment. So I showed up, and I'll admit I was about 3 minutes late or so. He was already on the roof with a roofing contractor they had brought with him. So I noticed while I pull up, he's just up there walking around. He doesn't have a camera. He doesn't have chalk. He doesn't have a measuring tape. He doesn't have a clipboard. He has nothing in his hands. That's a red flag. Those of you guys that do property inspections already know that's a red flag. So we get out. He gets down off the roof. It's a flat roof. He proceeds to tell me as we're walking up on the roof that he didn't know it was a tar and gravel roof because hail doesn't damage tar and gravel. And so I'm just scratching my head, and I say, okay, well, let's go up there and take a look anyway. And so what we've got storm damage, we've got hail damage, we've got wind-driven debris, we've got dents in the metal that's up there, we've got dents in the gutters, we have dents in the skylights, the broken skylight that leaked into the bathroom that caused all the interior damage that the insurance company already conceded to paying for. This guy proceeds to tell me that all of it looks like debris damage from the trees, the surrounding trees, and I'm scratching my head again. I said, well, here's the problem. Do you understand the definition of damage in the insurance policy? And he said, no, I'm here to look for hail damage. And this is I promise there's a point to this story. I asked him again, do you know the definition of damage in the insurance policy? And he says, no, I'd have to read it. I said, well, let me tell you. Property damage in this particular policy means direct physical injury to, destruction of, or loss of use of tangible property. And I said, nowhere in that definition does it say it has to be hail damage for you to go ahead and pay for what's rightfully owed this policyholder. Well, he didn't like that. So I proceeded to point out damage as defined in the insurance policy. Physical damage, property damage means physical, and I printed this out too. So next time, I'm going to probably laminate these pages for these guys that are out in the field. But physical injury to, destruction of, or loss of use of tangible property. Physical injury to. So here's the issue. Whether it's called hail, whether it's called wind-driven debris, whether it's called trees falling from the sky, does it meet the definition of physical injury to? That's the point. And that's the point I was trying to ask this guy. So you said it's debris damage from the tree. Yes? He said yes. I said, okay. What was to stop the wind from blowing these tree branches, this debris that you're pointing out, into this roof? He couldn't answer me. I said, well, is debris damage from tree carried by wind excluded in the insurance policy? Because what we have here is a homeowner's 0003 policy. It's an HO3 policy. So it's a special form policy meaning all perils. And I know I might be talking gibberish to some of you guys, but I promise there's a point here. My point is the adjusters in the field don't understand what's in the insurance policy. They're just out there doing what they're being told by their supervisors or their middle management, their upper management, things like that. The frustrating part for us, though, in the field is at what point are you negligent? At what point are you not doing your job? Where is the line drawn? I mean, a lot of people will tell me, take the high road. They're only doing their job. They're trying to feed their family. Well, so is a mafia hitman, okay? Mafia hitman's just doing his job. That doesn't make it right. There's still an ethical duty here, and I would say a sense of pride. Where's the sense of pride with people anymore? I would say that you would want to be good at the job you're doing. That would be first and foremost in my mind. And if you don't agree with ripping people off on purpose, then maybe you should be in a new line of work. I would tell some of these insurance adjusters that are on some of these files to, switch sides. Try working public adjusting. The problem is they wouldn't qualify because they don't know how to read a policy. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just telling you what I've been observing in the field the past few years. The end guy, the field adjuster on these properties is not equipped to handle the property claim. I know that's a blanket statement. That's not in every case. I'm not overly generalizing either. It's the majority of the time that's the case when we're involved on a claim. Now, I do have a bit of bias there. We are public adjusters. People pretty much only call us when they're already upset. So there is that. Nobody calls us when their claim went right. I do concede that point. I understand that. But why are we being called at all is my point. And why are we being called in such an increasing number? Why are we getting so many phone calls? Last year it was one particular insurance company. The year before that it was another. Everything goes in cycles. So we've been noticing this pattern. I noticed that right after an insurance company has large claims department layoffs, all of a sudden claims start getting denied left and right. I wonder why. It's weird, right? I'm just showing a pattern. I mean, pointing out a pattern. But I go back to my point. These guys are just doing their job. They're just trying to feed their family. But when there's blatant storm damage to a roof, and you've got a family who has interior leaking, possible growth because it's being stalled by their insurance company, at what point do you look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I'm in the wrong line of work? I don't know that I should be purposefully defrauding people out of their money for a living. Maybe I need to get better at my job. Maybe I need to go work somewhere else. If that doesn't occur to you, then I guess you're in the right line of work. But increasingly, like this example I'm talking about yesterday, the guy kept saying he was up there to look for hail damage. And I said, well, how is that? He said, that's just what I'm here to look for. I said, well, we sent in a proof of loss. The proof of loss named storm damage as the cause of loss. In storms, there is wind and hail. And you've already told me that you think this is debris damage from the trees, and I don't disagree. I don't know what exactly happened here because we weren't standing here. But I will tell you that it's not excluded in the policy. And again, he's getting mad. He doesn't know what's in the policy. He's telling me, well, we're done here. I didn't know we were done. I pointed out the fact, though, that he wasn't even holding a camera. He wasn't taking pictures of anything that I was pointing out or anything that I was circling with the chalk. He wasn't taking pictures of any of the metals or the guttering or any of the things that he was calling tree damage or debris damage. He wasn't taking pictures of any of it. When I pointed that out to him, he said, okay. And this was 22 minutes into the actual meeting, into the actual investigation. He said, I'll go downstairs and get it. And I said, well, yeah, that's probably a good idea. You haven't taken a single picture of what I'm showing you.
I've taken pictures. We have pictures.
Not what I showed you.
Okay. Can I go get my phone?
Sure.
I'm letting you circle all that you need to circle before we have this. When I'm done.
I'd like for you to take photographs, because what happens in your deposition, the lawyer's going to ask you, did you take pictures of what Mr. Cannon showed you?
Absolutely.
You're going to want to say yes.
Yeah, I have my cell phone.
Go get it.
So, yeah.
You're going to want to say yes.
You're not going to sit here and tell me what to do.
I'm in charge of this investigation right now.
You're in charge of what?
I'm in charge of this
So you
investigation.
can talk to me the way you want to?
Go get your phone.
I'm sorry. You're going to sit here and talk like that. We're done.
Are we standing here all day?
Pictures and we're done talking.
You didn't plan on taking any pictures up here, did you?
In any case, the red flag that throws up for me is he actually went out there to deny this claim or to limit the claim as it was. He wasn't going out there for a fresh set of eyes. He wasn't going out there to do his own investigation. He went out there with an agenda, and his agenda was to back up whomever told him that hail doesn't damage tar and gravel roofs. That's the only explanation that I can think of. And it happens more and more often lately. The guys go out there with a preconceived notion or an agenda to do one thing or the other before they actually put their eyes on it and make a decision. And that's part of my point. These guys in the field anymore, they're not making decisions. They're not authorized to do anything other than what they're told. I asked the guy at one point if he was authorized to even settle a $124,000 claim, and he kept ignoring the question. And finally, he said, no, I would have to call my supervisor. So, what are we doing here if you can't even make a yes decision? You know, the insurance company has a duty to negotiate things in good faith. And negotiate might be a wrong word, but to settle their claims in good faith. Good faith meaning hold up their end of the bargain in the contract they wrote that the policyholder agreed to. Their insurance policy, right? The insurance adjuster is there to seek and find coverage wherever coverage can be found. His job is to investigate the loss and find coverage, apply it, and pay it properly. How can he do that if he's not authorized to do so? How can he do that if he has to answer to 3 other people to even get approval that hail damages tar and gravel roofing? After another adjuster had already been out to say that hail damaged this roof system. So much so that it busted a skylight and caused a bunch of interior leaks. Some of these situations are really bizarre. But the point of my topic right now is I think we need to give these guys a little bit of a break. I understand they're not mafia hitmen. I get that. I know that it's a strong analogy. But the point still remains that how can you be okay with withholding benefits that you know are owed to somebody? And so let's go further than that and give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they don't know the benefits are owed to somebody because they don't read these policies. So that popped into my head. So they're being brainwashed by the people that are training them. Nobody's giving them a policy to read. And so they don't understand what they're doing is defrauding the homeowner or the policyholder or the building owner out of their contractual more monies that they're owed. The contractual... they're defrauding the policyholders out of what they're owed per contract by the policy. They don't know it. Let's go down another rabbit hole. If they don't know it because they haven't read it, why wouldn't they take the effort to be really good at their job and learn how to read it? What's to stop them from doing that? So now I'm back to it's still their fault again, right? I don't know. People could argue about that back and forth all day long from both sides of the aisle. I do know that it makes it really hard for a policyholder who is owed to be indemnified according to their insurance policy. This entire situation makes it really hard on them to fix their property, to fix their house, to get back in their business. You've got adjusters that are stringing people along because they're inexperienced with whatever they're dealing with. There's a fire in Texas we're working on right now. The adjuster won't even call anybody back 3-4 weeks later. We've confirmed he still works there. What the girl behind the desk that I talked to today can only surmise is he's in over his head and doesn't know how to adjust fire losses, which is fine. I get that. If you don't know how to adjust a fire loss, just let us know. But don't tell us that our proof of loss we're sending in is wrong, because how would you know? And I think stalling the policyholders' benefits so they can get their life back together is wrong. I think that somebody somewhere needs to be held accountable, but then what do you do? hire a lawyer? Do you complain to the insurance commissioner? Do you hire a public adjuster? Do you take it to appraisal? What can you do? That's what we have to deal with on a regular basis. Every single day we're dealing with what comes next. What do we do? What can we do to make these people abide by their promises in the policy that they wrote? And sometimes that can be frustrating. And to think about it, if we're frustrated, how do you think the freaking policyholder feels? How do we think the customer feels? You contractors out there that are having to deal with this on a regular basis, you know how this affects your customers. You know how it affects you. What can be done about it? There's a question. I honestly think that these days it's shifting more towards public adjusting as a field. It's. I'm not just saying that as a shameless plug or as an advertisement. I'm just saying that we've experienced tremendous growth over the last 3 years, and there's a reason for it. Because the worse the insurance companies treat these policyholders, the more they call for help. They got to call somebody, and now you've got associations and you've got insurance regulatory committees and things like that trying to turn contractors in for public adjusting without a license. So where are they supposed to turn? So, you can do the best you can do. You want to meet the adjuster with a smile. Understand that he's probably not there to do anything wrong that he knows of because he doesn't know how to do his job. The insurance company probably didn't teach him correctly, or he's new. Or he... Now, don't get me wrong. There are genuinely bad guys out there that commit fraud on purpose. I know of 2 of them. And as far as I know, there's things in the works trying to get those guys what they deserve. But, those are isolated cases. I don't think most adjusters are out there being malicious. I don't think they're out there to defraud the policyholder from the get-go. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I think that they're not given the tools in some cases to do their job properly. Still doesn't make it any less wrong. So here's another side of that coin. Who is responsible? When an insurance company is not acting in good faith towards their policyholder, and if it's not the field guy's fault because he's doing what he's told, and it's not the middle manager's fault because he's doing what he's told, then whose fault is it? Whose fault is it when the insurance company is screwing over their policyholder? When they're actually committing fraud against their policyholder, when they're not abiding by their contract, when they're acting in bad faith, when they're breaking the law by stalling and not providing correct investigations, by sending out unlicensed adjusters, like these ladder assists, who's to blame for that? I think it's a question we all need to think about. I'd like to hear some comments about that and what you guys think. I've got my own opinions, but if I said them all in one shot, then we wouldn't have anything else to talk about later. As the market shifts towards needing help with property claims, just know that we are here to help. We're not the only firm in town, but I am a little biased on that too. So I think we're the best. Let us know what you think, what you feel. I'd like to know any questions you guys have or any topics you want us to touch on. And always remember, you're in better hands with a public adjuster.